Hey, what's up? This is Rob from hiphoprally.com. It's the #1 blog on the internet for hip-hop producers that want to get education, entertainment, and inspiration to make better music on Maschine. Alright, so go ahead and check out my blog a little bit later when you get some time. Actually, yesterday, I got a question via email from a reader named Eric. And Eric just bought his Maschine a few months ago, and basically this is the first time he's ever been exposed to effects. And his question was, basically, in what situations within his music should he be using a compressor to improve his beats? And what exactly is a compressor used for? What are you supposed to do with it? So I'm going to answer that question for you today. So right now, basically, I'm going to jump on over to my Maschine to show you a more practical example of how I'm using compression in one of my beats. Alright, I'm going to show you in particular how you could use a compression in a few different scenarios. How you can compress an individual sound within your mix, how you can compress maybe like a drum group within your mix, and how you can throw on a compressor on the final master chain within your beats to sort of control the dynamic range and make sure that your beat is not distorting. You know, you might have digital distortion, your beat peaks into the red line, that's stuff that you don't want. So basically I'm going to show you on 3 different levels how you can use a compressor and what settings to dial in what particular situation. And I'm also going to show you, of course, what all those individual knobs on the compressors mean and how you can sort of utilize those in the specific situations that I just named. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump on over to the Maschine, and I'm going to show you exactly what the hell a compressor does. So what I'm going to do is show you a few different situations in which I'm using compression, and I'm going to sort of show you how I'm utilizing compression inside of these 3 different situations. The first is this this sort of lead that I've got going. Sorry that's kind of loud. The next is this drum group that I've got, and basically this is working to glue up our mix. And the last is the master level, and this is preventing peak distortion from our beat. All right, I'll let you sort of listen to what we're working with, and I'm going to break down each one of these 3 individual steps if we have time, and show you sort of what settings I've applied and what all these different knobs mean and how to use them to sort of get the result that you're wanting. All right, so let's jump into compression. This is very important, guys. So listen to what I'm working with, and then I can break everything down. So in essence, what a compressor is automatic volume control. Like I said, it takes the whispers or the low level notes that you might have a guitarist who sort of picked one note real strong and another one very soft. And if you don't use a compressor, the distance and the dynamics between the two make the distance between the very loudest song and the very loudest sound and the very softest sound hard to deal with. Meaning that your soft sound is going to get lost in the mix. It's going to be too low at some points in your performance. And the loud sound is going to be too loud in your performance at some points because it's going to be overbearing. So what a compressor is going to do is going to control the range between the two and make the two closer to the same level so that you can utilize that performance, that imperfect performance in your music, okay? And that's what I'm using. That's essentially what I'm using compressor for in this lead sound. All right, I've got this applied in this signal chain. And I've got it, this is also side chain compressed as well to the kick drum. But that's a little bit more advanced. We won't talk about that right now. You have to wait until another video. But essentially what I'm doing with this compressor in this situation is exactly what I just said. The initial stab of this sort of lead note in this electric piano is super loud. Whereas once the note is pressed and it carries on, as you can see, for an entire bar, before I had this compressor on, the sound after the initial hit of the note got really soft and it sort of faded. All right? So what I'm using a compressor for in this situation is to keep everything around the same level throughout its entirety to make this sound more fat. Okay, so I'm going to let you listen to this sound without compression. I'm going to adjust for volume disparities between the compressed sound and the original sound to make sure that your ears aren't being tricked. And I'm going to let you listen to what it sounds like. I want you to pay attention to, after the initial hit happens, what the compressor sounds like afterwards, okay? All right, let's disable this first. I'll let you listen to it, what it sounds like before. All right, let's throw this compressor on. So it's very subtle, but after the initial hit of this note, the compressor is going into work, and it's making the tail end of this sound a little bit louder for us, and it's adding more fatness to the overall sound, okay? So just to get into details right now, I know that you're probably curious about how to use this. I'm going to basically show you what is going on in all of these different points in this compressor, all these different parameters we've got working, and I'm going to sort of break down all these different things that we've got working in here. The first is the threshold, okay? And it might be better if I actually show you in context of this beat. So let's go ahead and work with that. The threshold basically determines at what point is the audio signal, is the compressor going to go start to work on the audio signal, okay? So if you have a low threshold setting, then it's going to kick in very soon. If you have a high threshold setting, it's going to take it a while before the volume passes this decibel marker and starts to go to work on your sound, okay? The knee is basically to the degree to which your compressor kicks in, okay? Let me be more specific. It's like how smoothly it's going to take for your compressor to start to work in. It'll sort of transition if you have a high knee versus an immediate hard knee. It's not necessarily important that you understand how the knee works. The most important elements are the threshold and the amount. Okay, so the amount determines that once your sound passes this threshold, the audio signal passes this threshold, it's how much the compressor is going to start to go to work, okay? And this is exponential, meaning that the higher the setting is, the greater the compressor is going to be applied. And that's not in a linear way, it's in an exponential way, meaning that it's going to be much harder if you turn up the amount significantly. So that's important to keep in mind, all right? I like to, depending upon the sound, if it's a synthesized sound, you can get away with a harder amount, increased amount. The next knobs you want to pay attention to are the attack and the release. The attack is how long it takes for your compressor to start to kick in once it passes this threshold. Okay, so how long does it take once your audio signal hits 21.4 decibels is it going to take for the compressor to start to go to work on that audio signal? In this case, it's 0.2 milliseconds. The release is how long once the audio signal drops below this threshold is the compressor going to hold on to the sound, okay? So a shorter release means that the compressor is going to let go very quickly. Longer release means it's going to maintain that sound a lot longer, all right? I'm going to sort of play around with the settings, guys. I want you to know that a quick win for you to utilize compression from now on is really pay attention to these knobs. Keep the releases and the attacks relatively the same in most settings. You don't want to do too much experimentation with those once you're trying to get the fundamentals of compression down. But most of all, you want to see the amount, or the threshold rather, and the amount, and you can see the most valid differences between those two. So let's go ahead and I'm going to sort of show you what's going on by adjusting these settings to sort of get the tone how I want it. In this case, I want to make sure that the tail end of the sound is a little bit longer. So I want the release to hold on to this compressor a little bit longer and the amount to be sort of high, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and get to work on that. There's an important aspect to pay attention to in this compressor. I'm just looking at my time. I don't have a lot more time to sort of explain this in depth because we'd be here sort of forever. But it's important to know that there are no hard and fast rules to using a compressor, just like most other effects. You just want to make sure that you're not tricking your ears by turning up the volume louder than it originally was before, because that can sort of trick your mind, play tricks on your ears to make make you think that what you're doing is improving the sound when in reality it's just making it louder. But it's important to understand when using a compressor that to have a goal in mind, all right? To say, all right, this is the problem with this sound, okay? We're trying to pay attention to the dynamic range between the sound, okay? So in this case, it's this lead. We want to make sure that this is more consistent. The volume levels are more consistent in this sound, and that's why we use the compressor. And this is going to help us, have a goal in mind. Having a goal in mind from the beginning is going to help us know whether or not the decision that we made and the settings that we have applied are actually important towards this final sound. Okay, guys? And that's an important thing to pay attention to. Okay, so now that you understand the basics of compression, unfortunately I wasn't able to get into every single detail. As a matter of fact, I probably only covered a quarter of the amount that I could of knowledge that I could probably give to you about compression. But I'm going to sort of give you an opportunity for you to take your knowledge, take your skills, take your music on Maschine to the next level. So I know that you're watching this video because you believe that there is more that you could be doing with your Maschine. Okay, so I want you to listen closely. If right now you're spending more time trying to figure out what to do on your Maschine than you actually are spending making music, if you're searching around YouTube for the answers or trying to crack open Maschine's manual, if you're getting frustrated from lack of knowledge and experience on how to utilize things like this, things like compression and EQ and how to put together drum grooves and sampling and all of that, if you're spending more time trying to figure that out than you actually are making beats, if you haven't mastered Maschine's creative workflow yet, if creatively you feel like you're stuck and the juices aren't flowing and you're not able to get out and express your ideas on Maschine, I really want you to listen closely, okay? Because I'm basically offering today an amazing deal. I want you to grab a copy of my Maschine ebook. It's called Maschine, the Hip Hop Beatmaker's Missing Manual. And you can click the link below in the description to get a copy of it. Because inside of this book, you're basically going to learn how to make album quality beats on your Maschine without having to set foot in a recording studio, without owning Pro Tools, or even owning an expensive pair of studio monitors. This is the guide that you need to get off of YouTube, get off of, trying to search around for the answers on, I guess, from people who really aren't willing to part with information, all right? Because producers are notoriously tight with information. And in most cases on YouTube, you're only going to be left with incomplete pictures, whereas this book gives you from start to finish the foundational elements that you need as a Maschine producer to learn things like sampling and putting together great drums on Maschine, teaching you how to master and organize your sounds on Maschine, how to master Maschine's hardware and software workflow. Even things as detailed as mixing in here. You can see, for example, on page 53, there's an entire section on equalizers and how to utilize Maschine stock EQ. We're talking about audio delay, saturation. Everything that you essentially want to know about Maschine is in here. We break down the entire concept of mixing on Maschine. This book is 89 pages of depth about Maschine, talking about drums, of course. I told you about the sampling module, telling you how to sample from the internet without having to spend any money on vinyl records and any of that other crap. So today I want you to hurry up, click the link below, and claim your copy of this guide for just $1. Seriously, okay? This sale is going to be over soon, and you're going to have to pay the full $47 retail price for this book. This is not a scam. I am literally just trying to get this book into the hands of as many people as possible. But just because the Maschine community is really tight-knit, and I'm trying to make my name in this community by giving value to people. Okay, so this book is really only $1. There is no catch. There is no hidden fees or hidden anything. Okay, so this is really important for you to grab a copy of this book, because this decision is going to help you take your music and your music career to the next level. I know you don't realize that, but this is a great resource for you. It's only $1. So click the link below, and you're going to land upon a page that looks something like this. You just click this link here, enter in your payment information. As you see, it's only $1, and you'd be remiss. You'd be making a huge mistake not to go ahead and take advantage of this right now. I don't want you to have to pay any more for this book later on down the line when I come to my senses and start charging the full price for this thing, okay? So Grab your copy of this book by clicking the link in the description. Again, my name is Rob. I want you to subscribe to this channel to get more free, great content on Maschine. All right, we've got a lot of valuable stuff coming up in the future for you. So go ahead and subscribe to this channel and make sure that you stay on top of all this great information I have coming your way. All right. So I know you'll enjoy this book, and I know you'll enjoy this channel. Click the link below in the description to take advantage of this deal. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.